Let's find out more about King James. Let's go. King James had a long fascination with witchcraft, and he considered himself an expert on the subject. So now this nigga was fucking with sorcery. I'll read it again. King James had a long, outstanding fascination with witchcraft, and he considered himself an expert on the subject. In 1597, he wrote a book about witchcraft called Demonology. Let's pull it up. Hold on, y'all. King James wrote a whole book, y'all, about witchcraft called Demonology. I just Googled King James witch book and it popped right up. Look, Demonology by King James. And it's all about witchcraft. And remember, I told y'all, it's called magic.
You see, this is why I encourage people to do their own research for themselves, because when you just go off of what somebody else is saying and they're not really showing you any proof or facts, like I show you proof and facts of what I talk about, so it's a different subject and it's a different story. But still, do your research though. But, with people like this, they get online, they get to talking and doing all of this, babbling at the mouth, but they really don't show you any kind of information or evidence. It's just going off of he say, she say, and all that other stuff. Let me show you some actual proof. Now, don't be scared of where it says AI over review, and then on the far right it has Wikipedia. That's just not Wikipedia, by the way. There are other sources because it says +4. So some people made some mistakes trying to defend Billy Carson, talking about on my YouTube, oh, you're going to Wikipedia for information, trying to debunk Billy Carson. If you use your eyes, you would have saw that, it's just not Wikipedia. But let's get into the information right now. I just don't want you guys to make the same mistake that those people made. Now it says this: King James, one of England, formerly James IV, I believe that's the Roman numeral, of Scotland, published Demonology to convince readers of the reality of witchcraft and to encourage the punishment of witches. Let me read that again. So he published this book to convince readers of the reality of witchcraft. So look here, it's Christians out there today that think witchcraft is, people with green faces, moles on the face, and all this other stuff, and they're cooking up a pot of, spells or incantations. Like, that is far from the case. If you really look at witchcraft and you study it and you examine those who actually participate within that realm of, philosophy and teaching and stuff of that sort, you will see that a lot of those people, are attractive businessmen or attractive women of your everyday life. Like, these aren't some Joe Schmoes and homeless people. Yeah, you have people that are, of that sort that participate in there, but you also have high caliber people within society participating within witchcraft. It's not something that you could just label or make a statistic about as far as for one specific group or one specific people. There is no color basis. There is no height requirement for those who want to join witchcraft. All far and abroad join who want to, practice that type of, stuff. The point I'm getting at is, people, he simply made the book to make people aware of the reality of witchcraft. And it says this too, and to encourage the punishment of witchcraft. Those who practiced were punished. And you know what it was? Unalived. So therefore, he didn't practice it. He wasn't fascinated in the sense of, this is something I want to practice and do and let my children do and their children do. No, he actually wanted to stomp this out. Now it talks about response to skeptical publications. James wrote Demonology in response to skeptical works like The Discovery of Witchcraft by Reginald Scott. Interest in witchcraft. James was personally interested in witchcraft and participated in the trials of alleged witches. So he was there firsthand, people. Fear of witches. James wanted to address the fear of witches that was prevalent in society at the time. Manipulate public opinion. James used demonology and other pamphlets to manipulate public opinion and increase fear of witches. Harshen witchcraft laws, and it talks about something down there that I can't read, but obviously you can see it yourselves. But the point, people, is this man did not support it in the sense of how I forgot this man's name, but you guys know who I'm talking about. This man is trying to portray King James as one who supported and endorsed witchcraft when obviously the sources say otherwise. It says demonology was first published in Edinburgh in 1597 and reprinted in 1603 after James became King of England. The book is written in the form of a dialogue and is considered a philosophical dissertation on witchcraft and divination. It had a significant impact on how people in England and Scotland thought about witchcraft in the 17th century. To express his views on witchcraft, demons, and the supernatural, and to provide a theological and political justification for his rule, he wrote this book. What was the purpose of King James writing the Book of Demonology? Now, since we got that out the way, I want to also go to the Britannica, one of the highest sources that we can go to. And the question posed is this: did King James I write the King James Bible? King James I did not write the King James Bible, also called the King James Version or the Authorized Version. He did commission it, however. James made the project his own after the Puritans, attending the 1604 Hampton Court Conference, requested that a new translation of the Bible be made. 47 scholars were enlisted to help, with the Archbishop of Canterbury, Richard Bancroft, at their helm. The first edition was published in 1611. The King James Version turned out to be a resounding success, highly regarded for its unprecedented scholarliness and its literary beauty. So we must understand this, people. There are certain lies that have been told throughout history that are clearly not accurate, and it doesn't have any truth to it. It is simply a lie. That is why I tell people, study for yourselves. Find this information out for yourselves. Because 9 times out of 10, or most of the time, whether it's 50-50 or 9 times out of 10, person doesn't really know what they're talking about. And if they're especially not showing you evidence and facts within that moment, should you really trust it? But then also you got to make sure that the evidence checks out too, though.
It's called magic because we live in an electromagnetic realm, a magnetic realm. But when you use magic for bad, what is it called, class? Witchcraft and sorcery. A feminine entity using witchcraft for bad would be considered a witch. A masculine entity using magic for bad would be considered a sorcerer. Right? A male entity using magic for good would be considered a magician. And a guy and a female entity using magic for good would be considered the same thing, a magician.
Alright, now look here. That didn't make any sense to me. But what I thought he was trying to say was that there is black magic and there is white magic. This guy right here is a Freemason, by the way, as you can see from this thing right here. The only reason why I'm showing this is because I have this book right here called Occult Theocracy, as you can see. And you can see these symbols on there, so you already know what we're going to be talking about. It discloses information about, white magic and black magic. Margaret Alice Murray, writing in The Witch Cult in Western Europe, establishes both the phallic and religious character of the craft. I promise y'all, I've heard people who are basketball players, like, NBA players, NFL people in the industry, actors, rappers, whatever the situation may be, use the word craft, or I'm perfecting my craft, I'm doing this with my craft. Let's continue, though. In her remarkable book, from which we extract part of the following valuable information: the deity worshipped by the witches was in some cases Lucifer, as the good god in opposition to Adonai, Adonai being the god of the Christians, the Christian god in his character of the benefactor of humanity, and in other instances Satan, the same spirit as the principle of evil. But watch this. This is evident from the various references to their deity adduced in trials of persons accused of this heresy. In both cases, however, the devotees, whether Lucifer or Satan, were obliged formally to renounce Christ, the Holy Ghost, and the Christian God before embracing the double faith. So as we can see, people, whether it's white or black, or one and the same, you're going to denounce the God of the Bible and Jesus. This is from page 31, and it says this: moreover, it is important to note that the Kabbalists admitted to the mysteries of theurgy never mention the word Satan. They look upon certain descendant adepts who invoke the devil under the name of Satan as heretics, whose system they call Goetti, or black magic. Well, I simply just told you already. They call their own practices theurgy or white magic. Now look here, it says between these two types of devil worshippers, the Luciferian